Leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. I'm a human too. I have a family. I have two kids who are devastated by these comments, and so all I'll say is just, it's obviously been a tough week.
Everyone assumed she would simply accept it, smile for the cameras, and bide her time. They believed that Caitlin Clark would be appreciative simply to be within the structure, content to learn from the legends while seated at the end of the bench. However, it appears that the WNBA overreached its biggest star. The repercussions are now coming in like a wave of titles. According to reports, the Golden Girl of women's basketball has reportedly told insiders that she is done with Team USA and has formally drawn a line in the sand. The most bizarre aspect was that she wasn't simply ejected by the players. It appears that Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner, may have unwittingly affirmed the poisonous atmosphere that resulted in this startling choice. Walking away has replaced waiting for her turn in the story. Additionally, if the rumors are accurate, the league will soon lose its most prized international asset. It began with what many consider to be the greatest roster error in sports history, a choice that influenced everything that came after. The one name that was creating all the excitement, selling out venues, and boosting TV ratings was nowhere to be found when the Team USA squad for Paris was revealed. The selection committee used experience as a justification, saying that the squad required veteran chemistry to win the gold, and that Clark hadn't paid her dues yet. However, let's face it, no one ever bought that. It was intimate. Before she even set foot on the court, the decision was made by those in charge to bench her for the entire summer while everyone was watching her logo threes and eye-catching assists. The rookie received a clear and loud message. Even though you are wealthy and well-known, you are still not one of us. However, that rejection was only the beginning. If dropping her from the roster was a sign of indifference, what transpired within the league after the game began was an outright assault. It was open season on Clark as soon as the season began. We witnessed blindside hip checks, particularly the notorious incident involving Chanity Carter that knocked Clark to the ground before the ball was even in play. We witnessed constant physical targeting, face guarding, and hard shvees that went far beyond typical basketball competition. However, the players weren't the only ones doing IT. IT was the overwhelming quiet from above. It appeared as though the league office was indifferent to their rookie sensation being humiliated on national television. They declined to suspend players right away, before the public outcry became too loud to ignore, and they allowed the story to get out of hand. They were reluctant to upgrade Poultry to flagrants. A moment that altered everything resulted from this lack of protection. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert intervened and put petrol on the fire just as things appeared to be cooling down. She attempted to minimize the animosity aimed at Clark in a recent CNBC interview that can only be called a PR nightmare by drawing comparisons to the rivalry between Magic Johnson and Larry Bird in the 1980s. She talked about marketing valuation and how important this rivalry was to the league's operations while grinning. She utterly failed to denounce the very real, ominous clouds of racism and hatred that had been looming over the players and the fan base.
It was a huge mistake.
By treating the hate and the physical targeting as just another business metric to be capitalized on, she essentially validated Clark's feelings of isolation. It sent a clear signal that the league cares more about the drama and the dollars than the safety and mental well-being of the player bringing in those dollars. The backlash to the commissioner's comments was immediate and furious. The WNBA Players Association, usually a group that stands by the league's growth, had to issue a statement distancing themselves from Englebert's take. Players like Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier had to step up and say what the commissioner wouldn't, that there is no place for hate in the sport, but for Clark, the damage was likely already done. Imagine being the employee bringing in record profits, charter flights for everyone, and massive TV deals, only to have your boss go on national television and say that the people attacking you are just good for business. That is the kind of betrayal that makes a person rethink their loyalty. And that is exactly where the quit rumors are stemming from. You can't talk about this situation without addressing the elephant in the room: the deep-seated resentment from the old guard. For years, Team USA has been a closed club, dominated by the same legends, the same circle of friends who've played together for over a decade. Rumors have been flying for months that certain veteran players made it clear they didn't want the Caitlyn circus, disrupting their chemistry in Paris.
It wasn't just about basketball fit. It was about the spotlight.
Diana Taurasi famously warned that reality is coming for Clark. A quote that aged poorly as Clark proceeded to break rookie records and lead the league in assists. By freezing her out of the Olympics, the veterans thought they were protecting their legacy and their locker room sanctity. Instead, they might have just destroyed the bridge to the future generation. They won the gold, sure, but they lost the public relations war, and they alienated the millions of new fans who only tuned in to see number 22. This is where the story takes a sharp, permanent turn. According to new speculation and whispers from insiders, Clark isn't just sitting at home sad about missing the flight to Paris. She's allegedly making moves to protect her own brand. The word on the street is that after being benched by the Olympic Committee, physically targeted by her peers, and left unprotected by the Commissioner, Clark has decided to pull her energy away from the Hugh national program. It's a power move of the highest order. She knows she generates the ratings. She knows she drives the jersey sales and the ticket revenue. If Team USA doesn't want her, she doesn't need them. She's bigger than the badge right now, and she knows it. The rumor is that she has privately signaled she has no interest in future invitationals if the current culture remains in place. If this walkout is real, the fallout is going to be astronomical. We are talking about the face of the sport potentially refusing to represent the country because of league politics and a lack of support. It turns the tables completely. The WNBA and Team USA banked on the idea that players need the system to survive, that the honor of the Olympics is the ultimate carrot to dangle. But Clark has proven she is the system. By allegedly quitting the national team setup, she deprives them of their biggest marketing asset for the next 4 years leading up to the Los Angeles Olympics. It's a financial disaster waiting to happen, and the Commissioner is left holding the bag. They needed her face on the billboards for LA 2028. Without her, they're trying to sell a product that the new massive audience isn't buying. Let's look at the numbers, because they paint a brutal picture for the league if Clark actually walks away. Before she arrived, the WNBA was struggling to turn a profit-flying commercial and playing in front of half-empty arenas. Since she was drafted, attendance is up over 40% league-wide. TV ratings have tripled, and the league signed a historic media rights deal worth over $2 billion. That money is what pays for the higher salaries and the better travel conditions that all the veterans are now enjoying. The irony is suffocating. The veterans and the league office are treating her like an outsider. Yet they are all cashing the checks that her popularity wrote. If she decides to focus solely on the Indiana Fever and ignore the global duties of Team USA, she is effectively taking her ball and going home, leaving the national team to rely on the old guard who simply do not move the needle the same way. The specific incident with the Commissioner really needs to be dissected to understand why Clark would make such a drastic decision. When Angelbert was asked about the dark side of the social media discourse, the racism, the misogyny, the threats, she pivoted to a corporate answer about rivalries. She tried to frame it like the heated NBA battles of the 80s. But those battles, while physical, didn't involve the kind of toxicity we are seeing now. To be why failing to draw a line, the Commissioner made it seem like the league was complicit. It felt like she was saying, as long as people are watching, we don't care how they treat you. For a young player like Clark, who has stayed silent and professional through it all, that had to feel like a knife in the back. It validated every conspiracy theory that the league is using her for clout while secretly resenting her success. And let's not forget the chemistry excuse used to keep her off the Olympic team. The selection committee claimed they didn't have time to integrate her into the system. They said her style of play, fast-paced, high-usage, deep shooting, wouldn't mesh with the slow, methodical style of the veterans. But anyone who watched the WNBA All-Star Games saw how ridiculous that argument was. In that game, Clark played alongside the other WNBA stars against Team USA, and they wiped the floor with the Olympic squad. Clark was dropping dimes, hitting shots, and making her teammates better instantly. It proved that the chemistry issue wasn't about basketball.
It was about ego.
The Team USA players looked slow and disjointed, while Clark's team looked like the future. That game was the moment the quit narrative shifted from a rumor to a distinct possibility. Why would she want to join a system that is actively betting against her style of play? There is also the Sheryl Swoopes factor. The WNBA legend has been one of the most vocal critics of Clark, constantly moving the goalposts on what counts as greatness. From falsely claiming Clark played 5 years in college to downplaying her records, Swoopes has been the voice of the old generation's bitterness. And yet, the league has continued to employ her for commentary and analysis. For Clark, seeing the league pay someone who actively tries to discredit her achievements is just another sign of the disrespect. It's a toxic work environment. In any other job, if a senior consultant went on Publix and lied about a top performer's resume to make them look bad, HR would get involved. In the WNBA, it's just content. This constant chipping away at her credibility is likely a major factor in her desire to distance herself from the league's inner circle. The silence from Clark's camp speaks volumes. Usually, when rumors like this spiral, an agent or a PR rep will step in to squash them. They'll release a statement saying, "Caitlin is proud to represent her country and looks forward to future opportunities," but we haven't heard a peep. That silence is deafening. It suggests that the conversations happening behind closed doors are serious.
It suggests